And welcome everybody to a new edition of Claude Code live build. We have Alex here. This is session number 4. So, we've been taking you on a journey, trying to show you different kinds of approaches, different kinds of use cases for Claude Code, and also Claude in general. And we've got Alex here who will be showing you a few tricks that he set up on the revenue recognition side, automating with one click. And also an executive assistant that he's built as well. So he'll be showing you kind of the basics of that. Before we turn the mic over to him, just wanted to quickly say hello to the audience. Generally, I like to want to ask you guys, have you been using Claude Code like on a scale from 1 to 5? How familiar are you with it now? Like, do you find it useful? So we'd love to just see in the chat if you can drop in 1 to 5 how you're feeling about Claude Code, and have you tried anything at all these past few weeks or months when it comes to testing things out. And while people drop in their comments, this CFO Connect session is hosted by CFO Connect. We are a community for finance leaders. Our main mission is really to make you better at your job, which is why we do a lot of content like this. So if you want to join CFO Connect, you can join right here. Application for free. Just looking at the answers, looks like we're getting a mixed range between mostly 2s and 3s. So usually we see more 1s. So it's good to see that we're starting to see an uptick. Chow Lam is 6, so he's breaking the scale. So that I'm curious to hear what you're doing, Chow, on Claude Code. So yeah, a few 1s. So yeah, so I think that Alex's use cases are super great because they're very accessible and very 0 to 1. So I think it should be quite useful for you guys. If you want to connect with Alex, just going to drop his LinkedIn link here. He's also sharing a lot about his journey with Claude Code. He has a Substack, so definitely give him a follow, connect with him. Also give him feedback on how the session went. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm also sharing about our sessions, learnings, just general trends we're seeing with Claude Code and AI in finance. So feel free to connect with me. This session will be recorded. So after the session is over, you'll get an email with the recap. And then we will save a bit of time at the end for Q&A. So feel free to ask questions in the Q&A tab, and Alex will do his best to answer your questions. So that's it from me. Alex, the floor is yours, and let's turn over to the demos.
Awesome. Thanks, Luke. Yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing some of what I've built today. I think just like most people, a couple months ago, I had never touched Claude. I'd never built anything. I had ideas, but that's about it. And once I got access, I think one of the first things I built was I just wanted to save myself time and stop doing some of the jobs that I didn't enjoy doing. And so revenue recognition was part of that because I had finance at an early stage startup. We're a small team. RevRec falls to me because I don't trust anyone else to do it. And so I figured out how to code it. So I'm going to share my screen really quick, and I can walk through what that looks like today. So you don't need to pay attention to all of this. This is kind of like a big build that I'm in the process of doing. But under month-end close, I have some automations. And today, the way I do this is basically I can go into revenue recognition, hit review, and it'll pull up a full RevRec schedule, which I can look through. This is all dummy data, so it may not fully make sense right now, but once I'm good with it, I hit run, and it literally will post from here directly to QuickBooks. And from that, I can then download the Excel file, which let's see if this actually works in the demo environment. Okay, the Excel file is not wanting to open. Give me just a second. But basically, the Excel file is what makes this makes this audit ready. So when I open up the Excel file, it gives me an entire deferred revenue waterfall. It gives me revenue by customer, and it gives me the entire breakdown. And so obviously you can build a lot of stuff with Claude, and then if you're trusting Claude with the output, you can get garbage. But essentially what I wanted to do is make sure that I can have this be audit ready. So every month, once I've run revenue, I can see the entire breakdown. And I think what's more interesting than actually showing these things is like how I did it, because the way of getting there is basically, I know that recognizing revenue for us is very kind of programmatic. We pull the info, we use tabs for billing. So I pull the info out of tabs. I have this, 10,000 row CSV file. And then I'm manipulating the file to get customer level data, which then posts to software, hardware, and the different rows of revenue. So what I did is essentially I connected Claude to tabs, which tabs has open API. I connected Claude to QuickBooks. That was a little more complicated, but I was able to connect Claude to QuickBooks and then pull the info out of tabs through API. Again, I don't know what I'm doing. So it was just asking Claude how to build this. And you get the data out of tabs through API. I told Claude exactly how it works. So, just like literally prompting when you have a new customer, you need to assign hardware revenue from the date of the invoice or from the date the hardware ships. It's pulling that info from our hub from HubSpot. So it's connected to HubSpot, tabs, and QuickBooks, and then it's tying everything out together at the end. And so it's just walking Claude through each of these steps to make sure that the output matches your expectations. And then from there, once it was built, so it, Claude does its thing, it builds the script, which the script is then something that you can run anytime you want to run revenue. And once I've done that, in order to see that it was working, I went back and said, run this for every month historically and compare it against what's in QuickBooks. Again, it's connected to QuickBooks. So I could go in and say, this is our revenue posting in QuickBooks doing it the old way. This is the revenue posting in QuickBooks doing it the Claude way, and match them up. And so it's going through that 1 month at a time and matching them up. And it gave me an output, a table that says, this is January 2024 in QuickBooks. This is January 2024 using the script, and it showed me month by month. And then one of the months was wrong. And so again, I prompted Claude. I'm like, okay, these months don't tie out. Show me why. Like, can you drill down another layer and figure out where the discrepancy is? And so it gave me the item level detail of where exactly the discrepancy was. And this is where it kind of proved it out, because what I realized is in our old way, we had actually missed a line item that pulled out of HubSpot. And it was because the deal had closed a little bit late, but it should have been assigned to that month because it shipped that month. And so using Claude, it was actually more accurate than our old way of doing it. So we had to post an adjusting entry after the fact to clean that up. But it was like from then on, every other month was clean. And so for a few months after I built it, I was running it in parallel. I would push the button, I would go through it, and I would post revenue directly. And then I pulled all the data the old way. And the old way would take me like anywhere from 4 to 6 hours a month, right? It was like the last thing I wanted to do every month. So I was always the one who was holding up close because, we have a million other things on our plate and it's like the last thing I want to do. But once I was comfortable. This is now the only way I do things. And so it's now literally every month it's a button click or 3 button clicks to run revenue. And then I'll download this Excel file and save it to our month end close folder, and I'm done. And so then from there, I built all of the other automations around it. Now, these were more like, these were easy to add on once you had the script because they're all very similar processes. But, you know, I've got prepaid schedules, I've got our COGS schedule and journal entry, and then fixed asset depreciation. And all of these are just like, again, it's Python scripts that are connected to different systems to pull the data and then push it into QuickBooks. Yeah, sorry, I'm looking at the chat now and seeing Veronica. Yes, it is built in Claude Code. You could do it in Cowork. So I believe, you know, there's a lot of overlap. I think you could build this as a skill in Cowork where you could have it either automatically run every month or you could just prompt the skill. And also, Veronica, this finance portal is more than just a place to house the Claude workflows, because it's also like, I also have our consolidated financials in here. I have like our exec summary, which is ARR breakdown and everything. So this is kind of like a big build, but the month end close is where I've got all the automations that I built. And then what is the input method? I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, Ahmed. But basically this is all done. So prior to the last month or so, I was using Claude Code in the CLI terminal. I use iTerm. And then more recently, I use just the desktop app. So it's, let's see if I can drag this over into my screen. I need to share it differently. But basically, I just use Claude Code in the desktop app, and it works great. So Nicole, so there's a whole process for connecting Claude to QuickBooks, or basically to get API access to QuickBooks. And it takes a little bit of time and work, but essentially what I did, you have to get a developer license for QuickBooks to do it. And all I did was I asked Cowork to fill out the form to do it. And I was able to get a developer license for QuickBooks, and then that connects it through API. But yeah, that's it on the RevRec side. I know I also wanted to share about my executive assistant, which it is a huge time saver for me. So I don't know about everyone else here, but I get like 150 to 200 emails every day. And of those emails, what happens is, you know, there's the ones that require action that I'll take action on. And then there's a bunch of them that I never touch. Like I might skim through it on my phone or, you know, miss half of them. And so my inbox gets crazy. I never get to inbox zero. I have about, when I started this, I had about 1,800 emails, unread emails in my inbox. And I was missing things. Like I would miss emails from customers. I would miss emails from investors because I would just was overwhelmed. And so what I did is I connected Claude to Gmail. And Claude has, I think it's got a native MCP with Gmail. So you can do this natively inside Claude. And I started by telling Claude to build me a voice profile. So I said, read my last 200 sent emails and tell me what my voice sounds like. And just write out, like in when I'm sending an email to a customer, when I'm sending an email to my CEO, when I'm sending an email to my reports, whatever, like tell me exactly what my voice sounds like in different scenarios. And so it did it. It took about, I don't know, half hour or something to read through all of my emails, and it output a voice profile for me, which was kind of incredible. It was like literally down to these are the times you say hey, these are the times you say hi. This is when you use an exclamation mark. This is when you don't. When it's someone that you have not interacted before by email, you sign off with best. When it's someone on your team, you sign off with thanks exclamation mark. Like it was crazy. It was like it knew more about me than I knew about myself about how I write. And after that, I said, okay, now I want you to go into my inbox and basically of all of my emails in my inbox, not just the unreads, but everything left in there, I want you to bucket them into categories. So it went through, and this took forever. It went through and it came up with like 30 different categories of emails. Marketing emails, investor emails, accounting emails from AP and AR and all the different things. And I said, don't do anything yet, but I want to go through these categories and tell you how to handle them. And so this took time. It was like, okay, I literally sat down and I was like, as though I was teaching an actual human how I want my emails to be handled. It's like, okay, marketing emails, everything except, the emails I get from someone that, from some vendor who I actually like hearing from, archive or delete. And investor emails put right to the top of my inbox, make sure they never get marked unread unless I do it, like, and all the way through. So it took, a couple of hours of like literally explaining how to handle every email type. And then I said, go. And I said, run this. And it took a little while. And after a certain amount of time, it had cleaned my inbox up. And now it labels every email. So every email that was in there got labeled, got put in a folder, and either got marked as read and archived or brought to the top so I could action it. And then I added a step. I was like, okay, for every email that requires a response, I want you to draft a response for me in my voice. Don't send anything, just draft it so it sits in my drafts and it's ready to go when I read it. And so now when I open my inbox, I have a bunch of drafted emails ready to go. And half the time it's like, it's simple as hitting send. One time another step, I guess, is I had told it some of the things about like how I like to negotiate things, how I like to present data. And so that's all part of my profile. And I opened up an email that was an email from a vendor with a proposal. And it had already drafted a response to the negotiation over pricing that literally when I saw it, I thought I had written it. I was like, this is exactly what I was going to say. And it had drafted it before I'd even looked. So it's like my email inbox now never gets over 50 unread. And those 50 unread are literally like their action things that I need to work on. And it's just every day I open it up and I've got things that I need to do. Of course, that doesn't go away, but the mess is gone. And the next step from there is I had it create a daily brief for me. So I get a daily brief. I said, don't just archive the emails that come in that I don't want to deal with, but actually ingest them and absorb what's there and give me a daily brief of everything that you've archived. So I can read through in a quick summary of this is what has hit my inbox today that I don't necessarily need to action, but that I might want the information from. And then give me a to-do list of the like high, medium, low priority action items that are left in my inbox. So every day I open up Slack and I literally have a to-do list from my inbox of things that are like high priority that I need to deal with. And additionally, I added that to my finance portal here. So I've just got a task list that is constantly updated with okay, this is like, I need to wire money. Again, this is dummy data, but I need to wire money. It gives me a suggestion of what to do. I can like have it craft a new email. I can redraft things from here. And then it's like, this is urgent to do now. This is for tomorrow. This is for this week. And this is backlog. And so every day I'm like able to stay on top of, I'm able to stay on top of my stuff because of this EA. And I mean, it took work to build. I'm not gonna pretend you can just like go into Claude and tell it to build you an EA and it'll do good work. You have to work with it. But once you have it, I mean, I've been running this for a month now and it's saved an insane amount of time for me. So sorry, I'll just go through the questions now.
Yeah, Alex, just wanted to jump in. Thanks for sharing those two use cases.
Yeah.
I think that do you have any tips on just how to get started? I think these are really two good use cases to just go from 0 to 1. How do you have any tips for someone who's just maybe struggling to even take that first step? Like, how did you personally kind of overcome that yourself?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's pick something easy that you do every day. Find something, whatever it is, something that you do every day that you don't want to do, or every week that you don't want to do. And even if, let's say, you can't get access to QuickBooks, you can't connect to QuickBooks. Let's say you can't connect to your CRM. Like I don't get API access to our CRM, but I found workarounds. You can use a CSV download. You can there's always a way to get data onto your desktop because, you use Excel. So there's always a way that you're going to be able to pull data out. Whatever way it is, it's okay. Just find something that you think will save you time and just start simple. And I think once you start with something simple, you will want to build more because it's like, this is something simple that works and it works every time. An example, our recruiting team and often me have to send offer letters out. And the way we did it historically was we had a Word doc that it was a template and you create a copy and you have to fill all this, you have to write the person's name in a bunch of times and all this stuff. So I built an offer letter bot that lives in Slack that literally you just pull up, you just call it and it will pull up a little box that you fill out the information and then it creates your Word doc for you. So anything that you can think of that is like, this is something that I do every day that I don't like doing, just literally type into Claude what it is and that you want to automate it in some way, and it will help you. It will give you the instructions as to how to do it. It's just start small. Don't start big. Don't see this big finance portal and think I'm going to build, the next NetSuite. Like that's not going to that's not going to work. I mean, it might, but it's not going to work. Just start with something simple and small.
Yeah, and I think it's a good tip. And I think just asking Claude for help, right, and having Claude kind of guide the way seems like a recurring suggestion that I see in all these sessions. It seems like you're getting a lot of questions about the portal itself that you've built. Do you have any context or like any more information on that? Would love to hear more. I think just for the audience here.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, so this started as just we are in QuickBooks today. We have multiple QuickBooks instances. And prior to building this, I was consolidating everything in Excel. I had a Power Query file basically that had a bunch of different tables connected that created consolidated financials. It worked, but it required, QuickBooks spreadsheet sync to sync the entire GL from each QuickBooks instance, which it's like 60,000 rows today. So it takes a while. And sometimes Excel crashes and it doesn't, like I'm on a Mac, so Excel doesn't work that great on a Mac anyway. And so I was like, there has to be a better way. So I created a consolidated GAAP financials that essentially what I did was I pointed Claude at the Power Query file, and I said, I want you to rebuild this in a dashboard format. And so it did, and then it didn't tie out because it was recreating it in a weird way. So I told it, you need to build this like a pivot table. So all of the data actually flows into each category. And if there's gaps, like there's a new GL account, it will flag up here, new GL account created, there's a gap, and to map it here. So we've got mapping tables that live in here, and then this all flows through into the consolidated financials, and you can flip this into yearly, quarterly, monthly. You can do fiscal year, calendar year, and then this can download into Excel. And when, I don't know if this will work on the demo data, but once it downloads into Excel, I actually sent it our, like the format that we use. I can't share it. Hold on. So the download looks just like what I send to investors. So I basically gave it the Excel file with the format that I want. And now I can send this out, whether it's to investors or, credit requests or whatever. And you can flip it from department to GL category, and it'll break down everything for me. So that's P&L. I've got the balance sheet. I've got like some cash metrics and a GAAP cash flow statement. And that was step one. And from there, I was like, okay, let's connect to HubSpot and build like an ARR waterfall and all of the SaaS metrics. And I've got like CAC reports. This is pretty low detail, but this gets shared with our marketing leader and inventory. Like, so I've just like added steps and steps every time. And this does get hosted. So it's, once it was built, I sent it to our engineers and I asked them to host it. And our CEO is very like generous with engineers' time. So he was happy to have an engineer spend a day putting this behind Google single sign-on. Like, it's hosted on, I believe, on Vercel. And so it is something that I can access live. It's something that our CEO can access live. And then the latest thing I built was our monthly investor report, which basically this does it consolidates all of this into an investor report that I can then download in a PDF. It's just got all the key metrics, P&L, balance sheet, cash flow, and a definitions page. And I can save this as a PDF, download the audit file, which is the Excel backup that's got formulas for every metric here, and send this to investors every month. So it's a super easy way for me to get our investor reporting out every time also. Yeah, I mean, I could spend a lot of time talking about this, but it's obviously, this took time and it's pretty complex, but this is like, it's the vision I had in my head of what I wanted for finance. So.
Super cool. And so, yeah, so it sounds like you've also made this accessible to other colleagues at your company. Mm-hmm. So they're able to see the information live in real time and also, use it for their own benefits, right?
Yep. Cool. Yeah, so everyone who needs access to this uses their Google sign-on, and it's gated. So like our head of marketing can get the CAC reports, but doesn't get the GAAP financials. Our accountant gets pretty much all of this, but no one gets my task list except me. CEO is the only one that gets the board deck and the investor report. So it's gated based on the module. These are all separate modules within it.
Super cool. I know that we're already at time, so I want to switch over to Q&A. There's a few questions that I have gotten a lot of interest. So there's a question from Mike Thompson, who's asking, how do you get comfortable sharing customer and sensitive financial data with Claude through the APIs?
I mean, it's always a question of, security versus convenience, which literally everything we do is, right? I mean, if you put your financial data in QuickBooks, you're trusting AWS, you're trusting Intuit with your financial data. I think Claude, once this stuff is built, so none of this stuff actually touches Claude. It's it it created the scripts and it wrote the code for me, but none of it is processed through Claude. It's created the scripts, and now the API is basically QuickBooks goes to Supabase. Supabase holds all the data, and then Supabase pushes to Vercel. Claude isn't in the mix at all. So still, you have to trust that Supabase is secure. But that's the same with everything. You could use a more secure database. You could use a bigger company. But all of these things, you're trusting the security of these different tools.
Makes sense. The second question that also is getting tons of interest, and also Shavi just kind of asked a similar question about token usage. Also, would be cool to hear from you, Alex. What plan are you on? And also, how do you manage your usage in terms of tokens? Any also tips and tricks to optimize it when you're building out like something such a behemoth as this dashboard?
Okay, good questions. I used a lot of tokens. This, in the month that I built it, so it took me about a month end to end from when I started to where we are today. Obviously, I've added bits and pieces here and there, but like the bulk of it was in about a month. And that was mostly like my full-time job is still running finance. So this is like, I'll use an hour in every day to do it, or I'll spend some time on the weekends, whatever it is. I used about 7 million tokens in that month, which is a lot. For context, we have like our top token using engineer just used about 40 million in a month, which is a lot. But I'm definitely the largest token user that is not an engineer at our company. But since I built it, it's scaled down a lot. So, but it does take a lot. I'm fortunate that our CEO highly encourages token usage. So he wants to see people spending money and time on these things, because he understands the downstream effect is time savings, which is also dollar savings. So, not everyone's going to have that freedom, but that's about what it took.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Yeah, it's a lot of tokens. Definitely a lot. So yeah, super interesting. And seems like there's still a lot of interest about this portal that you've built. There's two questions. So David is asking, I think you might have answered this, but where the portal is hosted. And then secondly, Elena is wanting to know, what is Vanguard AI? Is that just a name you've called it, or like, is there anything to that?
So that's just the demo company name. It's just, honestly, Claude came up with it. I didn't even tell it what to do. I was like, give me a dummy environment, and it named it Vanguard AI. Sorry, the first question was about
where is the portal hosted?
It's hosted on Vercel.
Gotcha.
But there's a bunch of places that you can host things. That's just kind of where our company tends to host internal tooling. So,
okay, makes sense. Question from Adriano, and this is more about, I guess, like building and iterating. So he's asking, as you've been building this app block by block, how have you handled continuity between modules, especially when data needs to live in multiple modules at once?
Yeah, so the data for all of it comes from Supabase. So the modules themselves are like, this is just the UI. The backend is all separate. So the backend is all in Supabase, and then I just basically had it pull the data that it needs to for each module. So, and then it's filtered based on what the module is. So like for the CAC reports, there's no way for the marketing leader to get the rest of the data because it's filtered before it gets there. But it still is the same core data, which is QuickBooks data. It's our shipping data, it's HubSpot data. But outside of that, it's just, yeah, it's all gated at the database, essentially.
Gotcha. And a few questions on the RevRec side that you had built with the automation. Nuno is asking if there were any improvements on the reconciliation process with Claude that can be shared.
I mean, improvements on the reconciliation process, meaning just like for reconciling revenue generally, I think I found improvements in that I could get a clean download every time and validate against expectations and validate against HubSpot. So HubSpot being our CRM, source of truth for all closed won deals. So I could validate these two against each other in a much easier way than I could before. Again, none of this stuff is pushing through Claude, but I use Claude to build the scripts that it can now run. And I think what you can then do is, like, if you want to do a second layer validation, is you can pull the data from both, from the RevRec and from HubSpot, and you could give it to Claude, and Claude is very good at parsing large amounts of data and kind of saying, this is where your mismatch is. I will randomly do that with different things, but I haven't done that so much with revenue anymore because I trust it.
Gotcha. Cool. I think we've covered most of the bigger questions and topics. And I do think that actually a nice final question from Robert, who's asking, are there any types of trainings that show you how to build this? Sounds like you just kind of were a self-learner and just learned by trial and error. But are there any resources for you that you look to actually learn, or is it just more by just trying it?
I mean, there's so many resources out there at this point because so many people are talking about it. I'll get ideas from the community, but as far as learning how to do it, it was just trial and error. It's just, I have this problem, I want to figure out how to solve it. I would spend a few hours solving it. And when it doesn't work, I mean, for example, like, I've been working on my inventory module in here for a long time and I'm struggling with it. And it's kind of like screwing with my head because it keeps not working all the way through. And so it is just trial and error. It's just like, okay, what is not working and why is it not working? And how do I take it back to, like, first principles of, like, the building blocks of the whole thing? And I think that's the biggest thing. It's just like, start simple, build a block, build your foundation, and then you can take it from there.
Cool. No, thank you for that, Alex. And I do hope that, these demos also help to inspire the audience and give them, all you guys, ideas on how you can start to dip your toe into Claude Code, test things out, and just, start building. I'm going to share Alex's LinkedIn in the chat one more time. If you have any follow-up questions, I'm sure you can connect with him and shoot him a message, and he'll be happy to answer more questions. Totally. And we're going to keep these Claude sessions going because we just want to try to really just make this as open source as possible and give you as much inspiration and influences as you can. So we'll be doing more of these sessions. So thank you to all the audience who tuned in. Like, really good questions. I think, Alex, the AI finance portal tended to be the biggest hit that everyone wanted to learn more about. Appreciate everyone attending, and we'll definitely be running more of these in the future. So hope to see you on the next one. So wishing everyone a good day wherever you are, and see you next time.